Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
Missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went through a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
What's your, is it deemed?
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for another ATS News live stream. We are doing our weekly deep dive into the Chris Watts case. And it's good to see everybody in chat. Jen, Sprinkled Donut, Dustin, Melanie, Sherry, Joey, Brooklyn. Good to see you. Marie and moderators, just be on the lookout. Hi, Debbie Fox and Johnny, Derek. There are a lot of trolls circulating the Watts case at the moment. So that's why it's on subscriber mode every week. But yeah, this week has just been madness in the Chris Watts Facebook group. So I'm assuming it could probably transfer over to here as well. So good to see everyone. And the sound is good, guys. Hi, Kent, Wendy, Linda. So tonight we are going to, okay, thanks guys. We're going to discuss, obviously, the Mistress. You guys seen the thumbnail. Creepiest mistress ever, creepiest mistress in the world, whatever you want to call it. Those glamour shots were done by law enforcement when she decided to make herself known to the public. She was hiding from the media. She asked the CBI agents to protect her from the media. She did not come out and make a public statement until he had signed the plea deal. So up until that point, people kind of had just heard about there being a mistress and didn't really know what was going on as far as, they knew that they met at work because that was being reported on the media. But not much was known about her until the plea deal was signed. And then she agreed to speak to the Denver Post. And they took those quote unquote glamour shots of her, which I think, I don't know what the purpose of them are. I mean, I think she looks extremely creepy and dark and like, I don't know. She doesn't look like an innocent victim just looking at those photos. But with that being said, there is Creepstress. That's a good one. So pretty much I had all these clips, and guys, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. I had all these clips on my editing floor regarding her first, well, I guess it's her second interview, but the first one on camera, and a bunch of videos that I had like in the process of making. Some of them I did make, but then I removed them from my channel. So during the Johnny Depp trial, I had a viral video. Somebody stole the viral video, replicated it on their channel, and I got flagged for reused content. So during that whole process, I got rid of a bunch of stuff that was on my channel that other channels had kind of replicated. So one of them was a NK video. So I'm going to show it tonight, bring it back, and some other clips that are just super. Sex dwarf says she is mysterious and alluring in those photos. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So yeah, I've just picked out some creepy stuff. We're going to go through her phone records. Let's start with the phone records since that's the title of this. All right. So As you guys know, the Discovery Files has a lot of redactions in it. The redactions didn't stop, they continued on. One of the things that we had found in the Discovery Files was her cell phone records. Now, these cell phone records are the most current Discovery file. And it starts off here on this page, pretty much telling you. All right, so this says Dave Baumhover. So this is an email from Nicole to the lead detective. Hold on, there's other ones too. Supplemental report. The following information was documented at the time it was gathered. The date of this report is not indicative of when the investigations occurred. On September 17th, 2018, I received from Nicole, quote, Nikki Kessinger via email, her Verizon phone statement for the period of August 14th, 2018 through September 13th, 2018. Kessinger included the following statement in my email. Dave Baumhover, I initially offered to provide my phone records to CBI for the requested time frame your team is investigating. You should already have all my phone records through the 13th of August. Please see attached records for my new billing statement, which includes phone calls on August 14th. This should be the last date required. Let me know if you have any questions or require anything further. Thank you. Best regards, Nicole Kessinger. This statement shows 5 separate events when Kessinger corresponded with Watts on 8/14/2018 at 00:08 hours through 02:07 hours. The phone number recorded is, and then it gives her phone number, not redacted, which is Watts' that's his phone number, which is Watts' personal cell phone. I enter the phone statement into digital case file, nothing further. Now here's another one. This electronic mail message and any attached files contain information intended for the exclusive use of the individual or entity in which it is addressed and may contain information that is proprietary, privileged, confidential, and or exempt from disclosure under applicable law. If you are not the intended recipient, you are hereby notified that any viewing, copying, disclosure, or distribution of this information is strictly prohibited. If you have received this message in error, please notify the sender by electric mail or otherwise, and then delete the original message from your computer. From Nicole Kessinger, her email, which is a Gmail address, is redacted. To Dave Baumhover, subject is phone records, and this is on Monday, September 17th. So a little over a month after the crimes were committed. Dave Baumhover. So then this is just the forward of the email we had already read. So then here's her phone record. August 14th is the billing period. So that is the day after the crime. So she presented that. And then we will scroll down. So that goes from August 14th all the way to August 30. Nope, goes into September. September. Looks like some mid-September is when they pretty much got this from. So August 14th to mid-September. Okay, so like I said, this is the most recent discovery file. Now, what I want to show you guys now is the redacted version. So this was taken out of the discovery, but web sleuths, including people in my Facebook group. So if you want to see this copy for yourself, I would suggest joining the Facebook group. And I believe it is linked in the description box. Give me a second. Oh, I got to pull it up. Hold on. It's a PDF file. And we gathered this information and kept it in our own files so that now that they've redacted it, can you guys see this? Is my screen sharing? Okay. So this is the copy that you will not find on the link for the discovery file nowadays. So the one I showed you before obviously didn't have the coloring on it. This was kind of done by web sleuths. Honestly, I don't even know the source of who really started doing this, but it was saved and we have it in our Facebook group. So we've got the copy before they redacted it. So let's go here. So as you can see, they have labeled it as Jim and Chris. Jim is her friend, family friend, according to the father. We've known Jim for years. He's a friend of the family. Okay, hold on. Just trying to navigate a little bit. So, and then Chris is blue. So this starts mid-July. So these are kind of her call patterns in mid-July. This is also where we found that she pinged near the house on the day of the murders. So we're scrolling down. As you can see, lots of calls to Jim, who is yellow. All right, so we are looking specifically. Now, a lot of these calls to Jim are because Chris was in North Carolina. So they're not really able to talk as much, right? Because obviously the mistress is, or the mistress. No, the wife is around. Hi, Valerie. Good to see you. And Christina, everyone else who's joined, Pointer Lover. Hi, guys. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Hi, Deco. All right, so we're looking specifically for the day she called a police department. This is also how we found out that she called a rehab center, how we found out that she called, like I said, Jim on the day of the crime early in the morning for a minute and hung up, and it pinged her near the house. This is how we found out, I believe, and you guys who have been following this case for a while, correct me if I'm wrong, she also called something to do with the trash pickup or sanitation business or something. Help me remember, because it's been so long and I'm obviously not going through these phone records to find every number anymore. But this white strip right between, so she talks to Jim and then she calls this number on August 7th. I don't think you can see my mouse, but it's obviously not blue or yellow. Broomfield, Colorado. And the number. So what we had done is we typed in this number like you guys have probably done a million times yourselves. And you know, what's this number come up as, right? Whose number is this? That's also how we found out how on the day of the crime she called that spiritual advisor who was linked to some like satanic cult or something. I don't even know. Something weird. So as you can see here, that number matches. And it matches the North Glen Police Department. So this is just kind of where it leaves us. Why exactly is she talking to Jim for a bit? Then some hours go by. Let's go back to the phone records page. But you can see here, this is what it leads to. All right, so we've got her talking to Jim. He's the Wisconsin number. 2 hours, and that's only a minute. 2 hours later, approximately, she's calling the cops or that police station for a minute. Now, I believe that these phone calls would maybe be on record as far as like, could they have gone back and checked like if they had any recordings that day for a minute from Nicole's number? I don't know. I haven't tried to call the number, obviously. I was kind of raised not to do any fake 911 calls or anything like that. I don't know like if it goes to a clerk office or I'm really not sure. But the day before, she's talking to Chris. He's in North Carolina. They're speaking for an hour, 10:01. Now, this is what I wonder too. These minutes, like I'll call and then I call for a minute and then I hang up. Is she calling so that he sees that she wants to talk to him? She hangs up and he calls her back. I don't know. Because, like, what does this mean? Because it says destination and then it says incoming call. So I guess he called her. So he calls her on the 6th for a minute and then calls back like almost a half hour later for 50 minutes. So the significance of August 6th, give me a second to share my screen, will bring us back to, and now this is a live stream that we did a while ago, 7 months ago. Why did Chris write this? Of course, this is the infamous letter that was found at his parents' house. To whom it may concern, if anyone gets this letter, I would never do anything to hurt myself or my children or my wife. If anything happens to me, please investigate my wife. And then he prints his name and then he signs his signature, August 6th. So this happens on August 6th. He had those incoming calls with NK. And then the next day, she calls some police department for a minute. So is she calling the police department for a minute to get somebody from the police department to call her back, maybe on a burner phone or something? Or what exactly is that like minute phone call to the police department about? And if we kind of tie it into this, like, was she reaching out to help? Like this letter to me, like you'd have to watch the live stream to hear like my theory on it. But it makes me like wonder if there was some sort of, I don't know. It's hard too, because you got to remember he flew to North Carolina the days after he went to the sand dunes with NK. So that sand dune trip, I believe, is significant. I don't know what went on there, but I believe some dark stuff went on there. He goes to North Carolina. He's there for about a week, writes this letter. It does match his handwriting because we've compared it to other things that he has written. So I truly believe that he wrote this. Now, whether anyone witnessed it, I don't know. Whether somebody told him to write this, I don't know. But she calls the police department the next day. So what? I don't know. It's a big puzzle, but I think that this letter kind of points to him being told to follow through. Now, you guys would have to understand that my theory includes an explosion plan and other people being involved. So I believe that he was told, if you don't follow through with our plan, we're going to kill your children. The plan only included Shanann in my mind. Of course, this is my opinion. And he kind of got freaked out thinking like, well, what if I don't want to follow through with this? Like, what's going to happen? I don't know. So you'd have to watch this stream for me to kind of explain it a little bit further. But I just, with her calling the cops the next day, I just really don't know. I almost lean towards, were they in over their head with some people? I don't know. But we do know that NK has her own little timeline that she printed out for law enforcement. So the House Huddle, one of my moderators who has her own channel that she talks about the Watts case with, check her out. She was talking about NK's timeline today. So I was thinking, well, you know what? Yeah, James, it's something along the lines of like her saying, if you don't follow through with this and I get connected to you, I don't want to be included in whatever ends up happening to your family. So write this letter to ensure that like you were concerned, like I'm not attached to this and that they should investigate your wife. It's hard to explain in the short time that we have tonight, but that's why I said that live stream kind of explains a little bit more, but I think you guys kind of understand. Hi, Roxanne. Are you home safe now? Hey, Seth, how are you doing? Okay, so she brought up House Huddle, brought up her timeline. I thought, you know what? Let me check that timeline that she wrote up for law enforcement and see if she wrote anything on there about the day that she calls the law enforcement or that police department. So that's August 7th. So she's in July here. We read through these on another live stream. You would have to go back to hear all her notes that she wrote out. Now, what's interesting in me gathering information about August 7th is I see July 20th. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's right before they go on the sand dune trip. So I wonder what she wrote about the sand dunes. She goes down, it goes from July 20th all the way down to conversations while Chris was in North Carolina. Skips completely over, because all this right here, her attempt to have sex 4 times that evening, he really seems mentally interested, but cannot physically perform. Ends it with the sex when from then on for the rest of the relationship was greatly reduced from 3 to 4 times daily to 1 or 2, maybe 2 times, and it was not as intimate when it occurred. Sex no longer happened every day we hung out, but it was still very frequent. So she goes from July 20th, to just skipping over the whole sand dunes camping trip to conversations while Chris was in North Carolina. Now, these notes to law enforcement, are supposed to be her way of kind of laying things out to help them. And it says, I advised Nicole I would review the notes she provided me along with reports and recordings from all previous interviews. So she offered to write these notes out to Agent Kobach. She's like, I'll just write it down. I'll just write down this whole timeline, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, that'd be great. You're telling me that she forgets that they go camping? That's why it's like, okay, if you're not going to include the sand dune trip, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to think more and more that something really nefarious took place there. Like, she doesn't write it down. She skips over it. Conversations while Chris was in North Carolina. Chris tells me that he had a conversation with his buddy Mark, who lives in San Diego. Says Mark's informed him that many years ago, he believed Shanann was responsible for a large amount of money that was embezzled from the company that Shanann and Mark both worked at this time, but the company was never able to prove who did it. And then she just skips over. There's no date for this either. Conversation while Chris is in North Carolina. No date. And then she skips over August 7th. So she calls that police department, North Glen Police, for a minute, hangs up. And then all of a sudden in her notes, she's talking about the 8th. Chris stops by the Frederick. Okay, so he's back in North Carolina, or he's back in Colorado. Chris stops by the Frederick, Colorado Toyota dealership to pick up an order of touch paint and windshield wipers for my vehicle after he gets off of work. I pre-ordered the paint several weeks earlier. He brings them to my house sometime between 3 to 4:30 p.m. that day. So nothing written on the day of that we're kind of looking at, August 7th, when she calls the police. So nothing about the sand dunes, nothing about the day she calls police. It's just a lot of missing pieces, but it doesn't help, it creates the puzzle to like grow, if that makes sense. Okay, so now what we want to do is kind of move on from that subject. So pretty much it's one of those things where like we title the live stream about a subject, and like I can't bring you guys anything but probably more questions. Like, why do you guys think she called the police department that day and hung up? Because honestly, your guys' guess is as good as mine. And it being the day after Chris wrote that note, does that have anything to do with it? Does it not? Why didn't she write down anything about August 7th that day in her timeline? It's just more questions than answers in this case. Was that the day of the ultrasound for sex of the baby? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Hey, Alex, good to see you. Let me look up August 7th in the discovery file to see if anything pops up. Give me 1 second. I'm sharing my screen. I'm still just looking, guys, so I'm not really watching or not really saying anything. I don't know if it's linked to the gender day, but that would be interesting to know. It was a short call. She left a message, maybe? Right. It's like, and where is the record of that? Because there should be something. Cindy said Shanann was pregnant with a boy, but they had to cancel the gender reveal party because she didn't have any energy. What? Oh, the energy wasn't right. Got it. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time figuring that out, but we can do a recheck or an update on that if I find it. If anybody can look, it was on a Wednesday. If anyone can look at a 2018 calendar and go back to August 7th and see if it aligns on a Wednesday, or if you can find a Facebook post perhaps, or anything to kind of tie that in. Like, was that a day that she went to the doctor, Shanann? Let me know. And then we'll get back to that subject another time. All right. So what I want to do now is just play some creepy clips. There's no other way to describe them, but they mostly come from Nicholkessinger's interviews with police. Obviously, we want to go through the whole interview and break it down. I'm thinking once I kind of have the baby, that would be a good live stream to kind of sit there, likely with the baby, and kind of listen to her interviews and react live with you guys. Tonight, I'm just going to do some highlights of some creepy stuff from her interviews. So let me just share some videos with you guys. Here we go.
Jim's information?
No, I would really not like to involve him in this. Okay. He does not know about this. He doesn't know any of this is occurring.
Okay.
I was literally...
So he knows certainly through the media.
Okay, so it was not the same day as her sono, it seems. It seems that the 7th of August that year was a Tuesday. All right, well, that's good to know. Notice how red she is. Here we go with her being questioned about Jim.
That something's occurred.
Yeah, he's
with
like
Chris.
out of town. He's probably has
Okay.
no idea. He doesn't know
Okay.
who Chris is. Like, he's not. I do not know.
So he's just a friend of yours.
Yes.
He
does
that
not
was
need to
coming to
do
your
this.
apartment and doesn't know anything about Chris. Does he know anything about
No,
Chris? Okay.
nothing. Absolutely
And we've
not.
known Jim for
Yeah.
years and years.
And what does it matter, Daddy NK, how long you've known Jim for? We're talking about if he knows Chris, if he, knows about this case and what's going on. Yeah, we've known Jim for like years. Okay. What is your point?
You're not dating him or anything like that?
No,
It's just a
he's
friend.
like one of my very good friends. Like, my dad knows him. He's a great guy. He works out of state a lot, so when he's in town, we hang out. But when he's in town and he's off of work, to save time, so I give him the key to my house, 1, because I trust him and he's one of my best friends, and 2, because
You hear how she's like, mouth completely dry, got like a frog in her throat. Look at the dad's got like, oh, he's, touching his face. He's like one of my best friends. He's got a key to my place. Interesting. He's got a key to your place. He's one of your best friends, but he doesn't know about this guy that you've been seeing. And he's familiar with the sand dunes.
I trust him and he's one of my best friends, and 2, because sometimes he will just meet me there, because I'll be like, hey, I'm getting off of work, and then if I get stuck in traffic or something, he ends up like sitting outside of my apartment waiting for me to get off of work. So I'm like, here's the key, and like my dog loves him and stuff. So no, he's not
So he's just a
involved
family
with it.
friend.
Yes, I don't even.
The only reason I ask,
dragged into this.
and I'm not really concerned about your location. I think we already have your cell phone records. At some point, did Mark ask you to supply? Did they ask for consent to get cell phone records? That'll probably be done by warrant. If we
Isn't that
wanted.
what you just did?
Nope. What I'm talking about is your movement.
Oh.
By GPS or by cell phone tower.
And we never get that, by the way. So the cell phone records that I showed you guys were just from Verizon, just showing who she's calling, where it's coming from. Any of us can get access to that. When he's mentioning Mark, he's talking about the FBI. And we know that the investigation ended. They didn't even send the 8 latent fingerprints that were found at Survey on items to the FBI because the plea deal ended the whole investigation. I assume that the same thing from what we know is they never furthered their investigation with her movements because of the plea deal ending that.
Show where you were, obviously, and I don't want to cause you concern, we want to know where you were that day too. You're dating a man who did some egregious stuff, and we want to
we want to make sure that you were nowhere near that, he's about to say. In fact, you'll know, even though it's redacted now, I pulled it up, showed you guys the PDF file of the records that we had before it was redacted. That's where we find the ping at her house, or near his house in Frederick. Interesting that they only asked her for records from the 14th through September. The 14th is the day after she pinged her. So they can try and kind of form their little discovery file based around, okay, let's leave this part out. But we had it before they took it out. And hello, Brooks, good to see you. Right, leave Jim alone.
we want to show that you were never near him that day, period.
I mean, you guys can track my.
No, yeah, I mean, that was something we will have to get a warrant for anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it, would you have any objections to that?
No, you can have it.
So,
she sounds so nervous. You can have it. I mean, you guys can track my phone if you want. You can have it. Right. We never see that warrant either. So just as we're kind of speculating, the buck stopped very soon with NK. They got those records from Verizon, and I'm wondering if they've seen, like, she does ping in Frederick. She's supposed to be a witness for us. Like, she has described herself as a witness to Charlotte. She's mentioned it to Agent Kobach. She was working for the prosecution. She was giving them information. I believe that she gave them the whereabouts of the victims under the guise of, yes, Chris told me that he put them here. Isn't that terrible? Oh my gosh. I can't believe. Of course, we don't know if this is 100% true. It's just my theory because the district attorney said she gave us bombshell information. But really, I think she just knew with other means of access to that knowledge.
I'm a pretty boring person.
Well, it sounds like you just went to work that day and then you came home and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, and she provided a clock out time card, but never provided a clock in time card. Hi, Melly and Tony and everyone else. Yeah, she is awfully nervous.
Like, give or take, like 5 minutes. But yeah, so 3:45. I meet Jim there. Yeah, I was.
And so Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin. I'm or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to go to.
Just leave Jim alone.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records, would you tell me who Jim was?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I couldn't?
If you had to. Okay. I don't really want to involve him in this, so it's not fair to him.
See, I think that the way that she's talking right now, like sounding so like entitled and like kind of leading the conversation, because she had given them the information about the victims and where they'd be and what Chris, quote unquote, told her he did with them, which is BS in my opinion. She just knew otherwise. So I think that that's why she's got this like attitude, like, listen, I helped you guys out. Like, I'm asking you not to investigate this guy. He's just my friend. He's a family friend. He's got a key to my place. He was there when I got home. Why Jim had that Monday off and he's just in town. She said he doesn't even live in town. We've seen by the phone records he's from, what was it, Wisconsin? Why the heck of all weeks is he there waiting for her to get home?
Him, that's not, no, if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so anyways, Chris was like,
or Jim, and I'm not saying you have to go to.
Just leave Jim alone.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records, would you tell me who Jim was?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I couldn't?
If you had to. Okay. I don't really want to involve him in this, so it's not fair to him. That's not, no, if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so anyways, Chris was like, call me.
And I'm not saying you have to go to.
Just leave Jim alone.
If at some point,
up in this.
Jim does not need to be wrapped up in this. And yet he's it's just, she claims that he left, red face and neck talking about Jim. Yeah, I know. I would so like to spend a session analyzing Dad's body language during this interview, right? How much did he know about things? She's so whiny. The way she controlled the interview with
healers. Here we go. And she's done.
Yeah. Then we got Chris there at the end. All right, so that was just one of the videos that, we've all seen that little clip before. The way that she controlled the interview with the detectives really ticks me off. She's infuriating. I've always felt she was a plant. They have some weird stuff going on over there, and her father looks like her handler. I would be acting the exact opposite as her in the police interrogation. Right. I think a lot of men had a key to her door, most likely the back door. I'm just saying. Judging by her searches on her phone, you probably correct. Thank you, Derek, for gifting 10 memberships, and welcome to those members. And if you're able to thank Derek, if you got one, he's in chat right now. That'd be awesome. If Jim was so innocent, why not let him talk to him? Right. Exactly, Bella. Maybe Jim has defense wounds on his body. And we know for a fact that Bella fought her attacker. And we also know for a fact, and this might piss people off, but facts are facts. Chris is in shorts, shirt, t-shirt, shorts, flip-flops, has a mark on his neck. And that was it. Remember? Little mark on his neck. We talked about it maybe last week. All right, moving on to our next creepy NK clip. This one, honestly, I don't know if anyone else kind of like picked up on this. I don't even think I ever released this one as a video. But if we're to believe that she told law enforcement information about Survey 319, where the victims were, etc. Now, I'm not saying that they knew where Shanann was by the drone. And that's been proven through the discovery files. Won't get into it now, but you guys can look it up. They knew where Shanann was before Chris labeled that paper. Anyone could look at that drone footage and say, what's this little piece of land over here? It looks strange. Oh, it's a shallow grave. This is just weird to me.
I don't think we're going to talk to the other side. From what we were discussing, they can get the discoveries from you guys.
I don't want to deal with him anymore. Mark already said, he's like, he might try to call you. I think I'm going to just ignore that.
Who?
Chris.
Okay, so Mark, like I said, is the FBI agent who conducted her first interview with the hidden microphone, recording the interview. She met him at the park with her father there. I believe that that interview was redacted. We don't have their whole conversation. That might be where she had told them, Chris told me this about his family, and that he put them here. I don't know if it's true. Of course, this is just speculation. But in that interview, she asked Mark, like, do you need me to wear a wire? Because I really don't want to. And he says something like, I don't think that that'll be necessary, but if we needed you to, you know, something along those lines. I don't know if you guys remember it. It's been a while since I've listened to it. So here they're kind of talking about that a little bit. And she's like, yeah, Mark said he might try to get a hold of me. And Kobach's like, who? And she's like, Chris. And then like, just watch.
I don't know. People tried to call me. I heard. Did they find those little girls yet? For them. And they thought, or they knew where they were at. You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
Oh my god.
I found the whole thing very...
Did they find those little girls yet? For them. And they thought, or they knew where they were at. You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
So they're talking about Chris calling her, and she's like, I don't know if he's going to call me. And then all of a sudden she sneaks in this question that you know is like at the forefront of her mind. Did they find those little girls yet? Those little girls. Those little girls. First off, totally dehumanizing them for one. Second off, you're discussing about if Chris is going to attempt to call you. And then all of a sudden you're like mumbling about that, like, you know, I don't know if he's gonna. Did they find those little girls yet? It's like you wanted to ask that question. How long? How long have you been trying to find out? And before this, there was a press conference to the public that stated that they were still attempting to locate everybody. And she's like, oh, why? Because you've been in here with me. Like, why are you so nosy? And why should we tell you anything when we can't even talk to Jim? Right. She can't say Cece, Bella, or Shanann. And what's even worse is she will say Cece, but she does not say Bella or Shanann. And with the injuries of defensive wounds that we know Bella had fighting her attacker, it just, I don't know. It really makes me think that there's a reason why she can't say Bella's name specifically. Like she knew something, I don't know. I can't explain it, but she will say Cece and in her interviews. But here, yes, it's those girls. Did you find those little girls yet? And here I wrote, why is she always fishing? Another slide will say, how did she know that they were in a hard to find, area? It's all about how you interpret the question, I guess. Like some people might say, well, we knew that they were missing, so that's why she didn't know that they were in a hard to find area. She just knew that nobody had found them. So I think it can go either way, the statement. So I'm just going to rewind it. We'll watch it again. I just think it's so creepy. And there's no emotion. I wish Sketchy Work wasn't in charge when all this went down, different outcome maybe. Right. He is definitely about shutting this down as soon as possible. I mean, didn't he go out to North Carolina to speak with Shanann's family about getting them to, suggest the plea deal to Chris? Like, what district attorney flies all the way across the country? Like, he was desperate to get this shut down, in my opinion. Hey, Jody is cool, and everyone else who joined. Yeah, Chris also would say those girls. I did not hurt those girls. Right. Okay, he did fly out there. Yeah, exactly. He was more concerned about his conviction record than the truth. Absolutely. Because a plea deal still is a win for him. And everything that was coming out about NK was not looking good for his case. Like, she wasn't going to be an Amber Fry for them. She's the opposite of Amber Fry. And he knew that. I mean, once he started really getting to know her, I think he was realizing like, oh, wow, this is sketchy. All right, so let's watch it again all the way through. She's talking about one subject, and then she's got to know.
I don't think we're going to talk to the other side. From what we were discussing, they can get the discoveries from you guys.
I don't want to deal with him anymore. Mark already said, he's like, he might try to call you. I think I'm going to just ignore that.
Who?
Chris. I don't know if he will try to call me. Did they find those little girls yet? For them. And they thought, they knew where they were at. You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
Oh my god.
I found the whole thing very...
Did they find those little girls yet? For them. And they thought, they knew where they were at. You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
Did they find those little girls yet? For them. And they thought, they knew where they were at. You don't know yet, because you've been in here with me.
Right.
Oh my god.
I found the whole thing very weird at the close. As much as you told me that he was as normal as he was, but yet some very close friend would call within a couple of hours of her not answering the door, or what was it?
Well, I think she was like on meds or something, so I think she wasn't concerned about Chris.
But to call the police within just like the same day, and yet he acted normal on this end, that is weird. Yeah. There's two different lives there or something.
Oh, there's definitely two different lives there.
So, yeah, it's like the dad is like trying to figure this whole situation out too, and kind of leading things with his own opinion and stuff. I don't know. It's weird. And yes, it is weird that she asked about the girls, but didn't ask about Shanann. Which could also mean if you guys, oh, okay, Dustin, you got to go. All right, have a good night. Thanks for coming in. If she was only asking about those little girls, does that kind of lead to the theory that she did know what happened to them? And she told them that Chris told her that information. Chris told me he buried her in this shallow grave and that he put the girls in the tanks. Like, could you maybe come to the conclusion that by her not asking about Shanann, she assumed that that would have been an easier find for them, maybe? What do you guys think? Let me pull up another clip. Tony says, I think she knew where they were. Right. Like, why was he so concerned about her calling the police? It's like she needed to. Clearly, it was the right thing to do. So why are you questioning it? All right, let me move up. I think the strange word and name usage could make sense if we knew exactly what happened and who got told what. But when I don't think we can be sure what went down based on word name choices. No. I don't think that at all either. Just think her kind of fishing for, like, did you find those little girls is strange. And not so much that she didn't use their names, but more so that they're talking about a subject of Chris maybe calling her, and then all of a sudden her tone, demeanor, everything changes, and she's got to know if the kids were found. Like, so not so much her verbiage, which I still think is kind of could be assumed of her kind of distancing herself, or, it's hard because, like somebody said in chat, she wasn't close with the kids. More so the fact that she's just kind of inquiring about if they've, located them. Not so much the verbiage used. Because it just kind of came out of nowhere in that whole conversation. And when we watch the full interview, you'll see that it just kind of jumps out of nowhere that she kind of fishes for that. So this was one that I did have on my channel and I removed. You guys have all seen other variations of this on other people's channels, which is why I removed it from mine when I got the reusage strike from YouTube. Reused content means that there's just duplicates out there. So I will say, and people get like so annoyed when I talk about that we had it first. CDT and I found this first, and then other people uploaded it. Like, did you see this? Did you see this? This one is in slow motion to kind of get a full view of it. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about when you see this. The audio is in slow motion, just to warn you.
Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
Alright. Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
Alright.
The hands, right? And like the strangle motion. Linda G says, I know they knew where Shanann was, but I don't think they would have found Bella and Cece if, he had not told them. Well, that's where my whole theory comes in, that like she told them where they were before Chris does. Chris knew where they were from some way, shape, or form, whether he was there with them or somebody told him that this was happening to his children. But the thing is, they, in the drone footage, they go up on those tanks and they open it up. And when you read in the discovery files, like, this is graphic, but they saw Cece floating in there. So personally, I think that they knew where the children were based on the drone and investigation of Survey 319. And then I think it's possible this bombshell, quote unquote, information district attorney said she gave them was, Chris told me he put them in oil and buried Shanann. But I think it's also possible that she knew that information not from Chris, but maybe from somebody else, or she was there and witnessed it. I just think that there's more possibilities than just Chris being the one to have done it. Mind you, he doesn't even describe them going into the oil the way that they were put in there. And that's all explained in other videos you'd have to refer to, because we've dug deep into that. They didn't have time to get the story straight, her and her dad. So again, this little clip to me is creepy. Yeah, saying that pained her. Right. She's like, it's Shanann. And we love that you've been here, Allie, for that long. I think she knew she was strangled and who did it. You've never seen it, Angela? Awesome. Yeah, we pointed this out when we broke down the interview many years ago. I clipped it, and then everyone else was kind of like, oh, wow, did you see this? Which is, that's fine. It's fine that we all see something and we're like, oh, that's weird. But I will say, don't mean to toot my own horn, but we were the first. Right. The sunflower he sent NK. What was that for, right? She's so cringy. It makes it look like she did it. Right. And guys, the cause of death and manner of death for Shanann had not been made public. Like, NK wasn't aware at this time. The public wasn't aware. Nobody was aware. In fact, she wasn't even taken out of the ground at this time. So her to say this and show these hand motions, and then it comes out that she was strangled manually. Very interesting. I'm in the minority, but I do think he killed them and put them in the tanks, but she knew, in my opinion. I think that that's majority, honestly, but everyone's got their own theory and opinions, which is why this case is just puzzling. I don't think Chris knew where they were exactly, in my opinion. And when he labels that, we have the CBI notes that basically show that his labeling was quote unquote correct and that he labeled them in the right areas. But I still have questions. It's like, I really do, especially the timeline that morning. The timeline for that morning just does not make sense to me for him to have all that time to do everything. But, all right. So, yeah, could have just been a via observation. She did stalk digitally and most likely visually IRL too. Your voice of her cracking me up. Yes, you were the first. Thank you, Brooks. Oh, you've never seen it either? Awesome. Okay, so let's go to another creepy clip. Since this is all about the creepiest mistress. It's what this is. Oh, this one's her dad. I just think his verbiage in this little interaction was kind of strange. So it's not so much, right, Chris was way off on the hat size too. Yeah. I've got a whole video about the crime scene. In the thumbnail, I'm wearing a pink wig. So that kind of, if you wanted to reference some of the reasons why I just feel like things don't really add up timeline-wise, or his statements about the hatch and how they got in there. You have to remember, his statements changed over time about how they got in there. He has more than one confession. And anything that he told the author, Cadle, was different than his polygraph interview and different than the prison interview. So that's the third confession. So I really don't put much weight into anything he told Cadle. I think they had a plan, but it got ruined by NA. Yeah, her showing up just did not work. I think once they had Chris's phone, they seen Nikki's number, and that was enough to bring her in to question. Right, and a lot of people think that she went to them willingly. She did not. She went to them once she was informed that somebody at Anadarko handed over their emails. Can't get any creepier than her. Jodi Arias would have been a creepy mistress. I actually see similarities between the two. Absolutely. I really do as well. Okay, so not so much what Nikki's saying in this conversation, but more so what her father says.
Got out after you told him something, that would not be good for...
Employment law is very strict on that kind of stuff.
I think you should just not attack it, but be proactive in it and snuff it, because...
And what, just go tell my boss, like, not what I told you guys, but like a summed up version of it, like, hey, my name is about to get released in the media, and there's a lot of stuff.
I don't know if I'd do that. Employment law is very strict on that kind of stuff.
After you told him something, that would not be good for...
Employment law is very strict on that kind of stuff.
I think you should just not attack it, but be proactive in it and snuff it, because...
And what, just go tell...
Attack it and snuff it. And that was about a reference that they were talking about her being involved in the case. Like working for the prosecution and how she was going to handle it with her bosses, etc. But I just feel like, yeah, the attack it and snuff it is just very strange language to be using. And hello, the purple one. Good to see you. And hi, Olivia. All righty.
Accurate than the one he told me on this case. And the reason is because I think he was trying to save his ass with the fact that she's pregnant. So he told me that she had asked him to wake her up before.
I agree, Caroline. I think Chris keeps cooking stories because he is a moron who also wants to manipulate people to think of him in positive ways. He is super compliant, which is always a way of maneuvering and manipulating. Yes. And anyone who has tried to lend their hand and be like, hey, like, we want to help you out in your case out. Like, if you want to appeal, you know how there's always people that are doing that. We see it in the Wade Wilson case right now. I think that he acts like he's on board with it. Like, he just continues to lie and manipulate people. And then it gets to a point where they're like, so are we doing this or not? And he's just like, nah. Comes up with some excuse or something. It's just he just spins a web back there in prison, and he gets enjoyment out of it. Yes, Shanann's flight that was canceled and she got home late screwed things up, and her changing her password to her phone screwed things up too. Totally.
Before he left for work on Monday morning. And so I don't know if she did that on a text or how it was supposedly communicated. But he said that he went to get her up, which I also found weird because, like, she's still sleeping when he leaves because she gets up with the kids and they get up shortly after that, but, like, it's just him in the mornings, you know. And so he said that she woke up and those two kind of just, like, got in a disagreement, and I don't know what all was said, but he was like, she was being pretty mean, and then he said She told me that she's pregnant, and she told me that the kid is not mine. That is what he told me.
So she's pregnant, the kid's not mine.
And that she's...
Like he's playing, he didn't know she was pregnant?
Yep.
Until that morning.
Yep.
And that it's not, she had an affair with somebody else.
Yes, and this is before I knew she was 15 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Like all the stuff on Monday that I read from my recollection, because I didn't find out she was pregnant until Tuesday. So anything that got posted on Monday did not emphasize the fact that she like had a baby on board. So then,
let me ask you something. You said that he usually gets up in the morning.
Okay, so yeah, good question, P. How would she know their morning routine? She's the creepy mistress. And did you hear what she just said here? I did not know that she was pregnant until he like told me. Like all the early reports like did not mention that she was pregnant. Wrong. And I just showed you the missing flyers and the tweet and stuff that was put out by Frederick, basically saying pregnant woman and children missing. So, you know, you can try and spin it as like all the reports, you know, none of them mentioned that she was pregnant. And the reason why I'm saying like she would have known for sure is her phone records show that the day that, as soon as everything starts spiraling out of control, she was searching Shanann Watts over and over. So she was like following the investigation while it was unfolding.
and this is before I knew she was 15 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Like all the stuff on Monday that I read from my recollection, because I didn't find out she was pregnant until Tuesday. So anything that got posted on Monday did not emphasize the fact that she like had a baby on board. So then,
let me ask you something. You said that he usually gets up in the morning and just, it's him and she gets up and takes care of the kids. Is that the routine that you know? So she's mean to him and then throws this out.
yes.
That she's pregnant from another man.
And I said, do you believe her? And he was just like, he said something about like, oh yeah, like she kind of looked like she was showing when we were in North Carolina, but I wasn't sure. And I'm like, so you think she's pregnant? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you think she's like having an affair? And he's like, I think she said that out of spite. And he's like, and I was like, okay. And then, and again, like, I think he's just saying all this to me to try to cover his tracks with me. Like, I don't know what he told you guys, but I bet it's probably very different. And I think that what he said to me, it was like directed towards me. Like this whole bullshit little box lie that he had right there was like the lie directed.
Did he say when the argument started?
Nope. He just said it was in the morning. He said he woke her up in the morning.
Okay. Did he say when she came home? Did he ever let you know that?
I think I want to say he said around like 2, but I don't know.
Okay. And then he woke her for what purpose?
Because she asked him to.
Okay.
So I was under the impression that he was asleep. I'm assuming this is how it like went, and what he was trying to tell me is that he was asleep by the time she got home. And she sent him a text and said, wake me up before you leave. And then he woke her up, and they got in an argument, and then he went to work.
Okay.
That's how I processed
And the context of that argument, again, was just she's pregnant. And is there anything else that he shared with you?
He did not elaborate on it, and I didn't ask.
What were you thinking at that time?
This was like on Monday. Again, at that point, I was like, I still thought she left. I mean, this was all on Monday. Like, I legitimately thought this woman left the premises with her kids and just wanted nothing to do with him for like 24 hours.
So his story was believable that she was pregnant from another man and maybe she took off for that guy, or...
He said several times, like, I think she just said that out of spite.
Okay.
Like, he thought she was with one of her friends.
So he held true to that story.
Pretty much.
She's just leaving and she's with a friend.
That was kind of what he thought, and that's kind of what he had me believing. And at the time, I wasn't really alarmed because it'd been like a half a day.
Sure.
Okay, so warning, the audio is going to be probably loud, hard to hear. This is a hidden microphone by FBI the day prior.
Person is leaving for maybe a day, that doesn't seem out of the ordinary to somebody who wants to. The fact that all of her stuff was still there, though, that's kind of strange.
And did he tell you about anything that was going on?
Now I need to know, they mentioned all her stuff was there. Her purse was there. Her medication was there. Her car was there. The car seats are there. Her phone was there. Do we hear anything about the keys? The keys to the Lexus, Shanann's keys. Does anyone know anything about the keys?
With her, as far as was she seeing anybody, was there, had she talked about plans of what she was going to do, if she was going to live someplace else? As far as I knew, he kept it pretty short and sweet. He was like, if she ever came up in conversation, he was very, like, civil about her. Like, he never had anything, like, negative or derogatory to say about her. He just told me, we're separating, this is why, and that was about it. And then when... Did he say why? Did he say what his reason was? The reason was for separating? He just said that they, like, really didn't connect very well anymore. And, I don't know, I think financially they have, like, different ideas of how they want to live their lives. I was pretty taken back by that. I just felt kind of, like, disappointed with him, and not with the situation. I mean, if she's pregnant, that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, if she's pregnant, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I don't recall anything about the keys.
That information definitely withheld from me. So I had to find that out through the media, and I asked him about it yesterday, and he kept telling me, he's like, it's not mine, and he just kept telling me it wasn't his, and he's like, you mad? I was like, no, I'm not mad at all. I just am, like, really surprised, and I was just like, please tell me the truth, like, don't lie to me, please don't lie to me, like, this.
Okay, this key topic I'll have to dig into more and iron out for us.
Relationship, in a sense, if you think about it, it's kind of like, it needs to be as honest as possible. Yeah, I asked him to tell me the truth, and he kept denying it a few times, and I was just like, Chris, like, I know this child is yours, and I'm like, well, because he kept saying, he was just like, I don't want to ruin anything we have, this and this.
Yeah, but, like, where's Shanann's keys? If Chris opened the door, yes, I agree. Like, he must have had some, form of keys, but we all know that the husband and wife have their own. Where were hers?
I'm like, Chris, like, you need to not worry about me right now. Like, what you need to worry about is your family. I'm like, all 4 of them. And I kept saying that, like, all 4 of them. I'm just like, I know that's your child. I'm like, and that's okay. I'm like, you need to put all of your energy right now into focusing on owning them and not anywhere else. And then he finally came clean, and he was like, yeah, it's mine. And I knew. Like, of course you knew. Like, come on, how would you not know that your wife is, like, what is it, 15 weeks, 4 months pregnant? I mean, seriously. So he told me, and I just, I don't know. I've never I have never felt like he's lied to me. I've always felt like he's been pretty upfront with me this entire time. And then after that happened yesterday, between him lying to me, or coming clean about lying to me, and then his wife not coming home, I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's more to this story than I know, and it's really hard for me to process this because I think he's a really good guy. And, I'm worried about his wife and kids. Like, really worried about his wife and kids. Like, I don't know where they are. You don't know where they are. Nobody knows where they're at. And it's just freaking me out because those little girls are like, they're so little. And she's pregnant, and it's like, where's their mom? Where are these babies? And it makes me sad. And it's just this whole combination of, like, she's still not back. And then him lying to me. And I'm just like, I just felt like I needed to talk to you guys and tell you guys, like, I'm concerned. I'll help you any way that you guys need help. After, like, finding out, like, oh yeah, and, like, I've also got this child on the way with her and just wasn't very honest with me, I told him, please give me time to heal and please give me time to process this. And he's like, are we done? And I told him, I said, no, we're not. Yes, we are, but he doesn't need to know that. I just told him that because I was just, like, trying to find a way to, like, distance myself from him without alerting him that I'm really uncomfortable with everything that's going on right now. I told him numerous times yesterday that I was scared. And, I told him that I was scared not because of, like, for, like, my own safety, but I told him, like, I'm scared because I don't know where she's at. I'm scared because I'm scared for them. And then I told him, the fact that you weren't honest with me, like, I don't feel like I know you as well as I did. And that, you know, that's uncomfortable for me too. Like, this whole situation, it's scary. And
she's uncomfortable with everything going on now, and I was having an affair with a married man who has 3 kids, right? And she's like, and I believe in monogamy, right? Okay, so everyone's saying center council, car council per one of the cops. Okay, thank you guys. Interesting. So they were in the car, they were in the Lexus, but she uses. No, does she have her keys out when she gets home with Nikki dropping her off? I don't think we see that. We just see her phone, and then she uses the punch code to get in. Her voice is full of falseness. Yeah.
he told me that she came home like really late, I think, that night. And he told me that when he woke up, he said he was sleeping when she got back. And when he woke up, there was a text message from her that said I don't know if it was a text, I don't know. But she just said she asked him to wake her up before he went to work. And I guess he went to wake her up, and she informed him that the child that she was carrying did not belong to him. And I asked him if he believed that, and he said, no, I think she's just saying that out of spite. So I don't know if he's telling me that because he's trying to, like, somehow make me feel better that maybe it's not his kid because he lied to me, or if that, like, legitimately happened. I don't know. But he told me that, and then I guess he said that she said that she was gonna, like, go to some friend's house or something, and I guess he tried to ask her about it a few times. It wasn't me, so I can do that. But, I mean, I'm sure finding out that the child that your wife is carrying isn't yours is probably painful.
But I'm sure finding out the child that your wife is carrying wasn't yours was painful.
As far as I know, they didn't even really, like, argue that much in the first place. They just had different opinions on how to do stuff.
Do you think he had any reason to believe that the child wasn't his? I mean, is there a possibility that she was seeing somebody?
I mean, maybe she's at home all day, right? It would probably be pretty easy for her to have an affair.
So this is the only interview where she kind of and this is before they find the bodies. This is before, obviously, he's confessed, or whatever you want to call it, false confession, because he said that Shanann killed the girls. We know that's not true, so it is a false confession in my book. She never speaks about Shanann having an affair after, like, everything's been discovered. So the first FBI interview is the only interview that she ever speaks, like, he told me that she said the baby wasn't his. She could have access to an affair pretty easily because she's home all day. Finding out that the child your wife's carrying isn't yours would have been painful. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of changes after that.
I don't know.
Nothing that he ever mentioned.
Prior to that?
Yeah. No. He never said, I think she's having an affair, or she's spending too much time with so-and-so.
No, not at all. I don't even think he would notice. I mean, like, realistically, it's like, no one else knew about us. And she's home all day, so that frees up, like, that much time. So, no. But
she's home all day, so that frees up, you know, a lot of time.
I mean, he could have been unaware, but I mean, he even said, I think she said it out of spite. I don't even think he took that whole situation seriously.
Mm-hmm. So, and then he did admit to you that it was his child. He believed it was his child.
Later, because I kept asking him, he's like, it's not mine. And I was like, how are you going to tell me that she just told you that she's having an affair, and you tell me you don't believe that she's really having an affair, but that the kid's not yours? And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me.
All right, so that was the end of another creepy clip. Got a few more creepy clips for you guys, and then we're going to call it a night. Of course, this is a very short one.
Respect, like, monogamy. That's like a situation, but respect, like, monogamy. That's like a situation, but respect, like, monogamy. That's like a situation, but
I respect monogamy. I mean, and then she like mumbles something about, given the situation. So bizarre. Then here's our last creepy clip. Very short one. And it's only a few seconds, but that's all you need for this.
About what separation does to kids. And I was like, I think you guys should just read about it. Just read. Like, that's what I always used to tell them. I'd always tell them to, like, I tell people to read about everything. Reading is so good for you.
The laugh. We'll end it with NK's laugh. The giggle that she left on Chris Watts' voicemail. And in the discovery files, the little investigative note next to it refers to that voicemail as being creepy. So, yes. Imagine putting that on like repeat for like a Halloween audio. Like, you know how you guys go trick-or-treating? Obviously, everyone here is getting ready for Halloween. I'm sure you guys are too. And when you got little kids, like it's very exciting. Wouldn't that be? I'm just like thinking about Halloween and like her giggle just on repeat. I mean, as a little kid walking up to a house, I'd be like, what was that? Like looking behind the bush. Yeah, like a Halloween doorbell. Right? Exactly. Just something that was like, oh my gosh. I know, I don't want to traumatize the children of the neighborhood, but imagine it like coming out from behind like a bush or something. Good Lord, yes, Halloween, totally. Yeah, with a creepy doll or just one of the pictures of her like on the thumbnail. That's awesome, Scottish Queen. All right, guys, I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you, Derek, for gifting the memberships. Thank you, everyone who just hit the like button and spoke in our chat together and conversed. I really appreciate coming here to kind of break things down, even if I don't have the answer, like tonight, another topic we bring up, about why would she call this law enforcement agency for a minute and hang up. It's like so many things in this case. We come here and talk about it weekly and Thursday nights, and it's just, it never ends, our questions for it. I think NK spent hours and days stalking Shanann. Creepy and scary. I wonder how much longer until Chris flips on her. He already said it was because of a Jezebel that he did it, what he did, that he did what he did. NK. Oh yeah, she's the Jezebel for sure. All right, guys. So tomorrow night we are going to be doing a update and deep dive into Gypsy Rose. We have been doing them on Fridays. We do a little update of, what she's been up to, what ridiculousness and train wreck we can kind of look at. And then we're going to pull up her interrogation and re-look at it. So I know a lot of you guys have seen it, much like I have in the past. I'm looking at it from a totally different viewpoint this time around because my opinion on the case has changed from when I first started studying it years ago. So that's what we're doing tomorrow night. And yes, thank you to my moderators, Melly and Johnny and everyone else. Hi, Justice A to Z. Thank you for the replay viewers. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll talk tomorrow night. So hold on, I forgot to pull up my outro. So yes, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow night around 8. Bye.